This is what it looks like when you come in and you have it unpacked. They just give you 2 bottles of water. Table comes out. And it unfolds. Thank you, babe. To a decent size with a checkerboard if you just want to bring a couple checkers. Easy for traveling. And a nice big mirror. And the captain's seat, which in this one apparently rotates even though it's not supposed to. And it can be folded up. There's a Velcro strap that you can use to fold up the seat if you want extra space. Gives you a lot more space if you need to move around the cabin. It always says facial tissues below. They're usually not there. They're usually next to the window. I'm not going to show this right now because that's all the way around the corner. It's the sink light. There's a small shelf here that the bed will rest on. Okay, I just had this. I just had it open. It's just big enough for 1 or 2 coats. There's only 1 hanger. I put the blankets in there. They were on top of where you put the carry-on. So you adjust 1 plug there to the sink. You can actually lower the top bunk yourself, but it's usually not made up. And it's a pain, so just let the attendant do it. Music control. Oh yeah. So we got the light off, and that's a dimmer night light. That's where I always put my carry-on. That's where the blankets were. This is the Sanford station.
Please make sure that you're making everyone aware that the lounge car is still on the other track. They cannot access it until we connect the train. Once again, everyone, you cannot access the lounge car until we finish connecting the train prior to departure. Thank you.
Linens are provided in there for you. Also, in the upper level of this car in the center, there's also another restroom. Also, for any of my passengers that may use needles, lancets, razor blades, or any other sharp objects, we have complimentary sharp trap container boxes. There's one located on the lower level in the vestibule area. That's where you entered into the car. And there's also one located on the upper level in the center of the car as well.
There's towels and the shower head. And a little shower curtain. Down there is where the coffee is, and I think there's an ice machine and the stairs to go downstairs. Hi, I hope you enjoyed the video tour of the bedroom that we had on the Autotrain coming home from Sanford, Florida to Lorton, Virginia. It was train 52 and I believe car 43, I'd have to double check. The Autotrain has bedrooms, which have 2 beds technically. The top bunk folds down to make the second one. It has a captain's seat. I don't know if it counts as a captain's seat. I don't think it's supposed to rotate. Ours did. I don't think it was supposed to. It has a sink that's facing out to the more public area where you sit, and then there's an enclosed toilet with a shower built in. The toilet paper actually has a plastic cover to keep it from getting wet when you're showering. And you would see that in the video, but it is difficult to see because the room is very small and you can't really get far enough back with a camera to get a good view, which is why I'm recording this extra bit. I wanted to give you a little bit of extra tips that I could not film. You will have seen just how small the bathroom is. If you need space, the bedroom actually may not be your best option. They have multiple types of rooms. They have the roomette, which is literally just a bed. It's 2 seats that fold down to make the bed. And then it has a top bunk that folds down for a second person. It's very tight for most adults. If you're not somebody that turns a lot, you might be fine up there. Otherwise, I'd recommend that for children or very small adults. The roomette itself would be great for a single person. You can sit there 2 adults in the chairs, but when it comes time to lay down, I don't think it gets wider. In the bedroom, it does. It does slide out and it does get wider. It takes up most of the room. The same thing for the top bunk, though. It is not comfortable for most adults if you move. If you're somebody that you lay down and you're out, fine. But if you tend to turn, there's not a lot of room to turn up there. It's very close to the ceiling. They also have family bedrooms, which is the same setup as the bedroom for the bed, where you have the main bed that slides out and gets bigger and the top bunk that folds down. And then there's 2 small beds on the side that they work like the roomette, where it's 2 chairs that become a bed. And then I think there's another top bunk that folds down. Those are designed for children. In the past, we have had a family bedroom, and just for comfort's sake, I'm one of those people that curls up when I sleep. So I actually slept on that side, and my husband took the long stretch. If you are planning to sleep on the bottom bunk only, that means if you're traveling alone, or if the 2 of you can actually fit on the bunk comfortably, the main bed comfortably, I recommend telling the attendant that you don't want the bunk folded down, because if you can be comfortable, 2 of you on the main bed, and I would say it's about the size of a twin when it's folded out, it is going to be more comfortable than the bunk, and the bunk being folded down is going to really hinder your ability to do anything because it's so low. So in addition to the bedroom and the roomette and the family bedroom, there's also an accessible room. If I remember correctly on the website, you do have to have a mobility device that you are required to use in order to book it, because there's only 1 per car. And if I remember correctly, you have to book that over the phone, because I think you have to offer proof of the necessity. I was lucky enough, not on this trip, but on a previous trip, to be able to tour that room, and it's the entire width of the car, just like the family bedroom is. Now, the family bedroom does not have a bathroom at all in it. You are using the shared bathrooms that the roomettes also share. There, as you saw in the video, there are, I think, 3 restrooms on the bottom floor and 1 on the top floor, and a public shower on the bottom. I've rarely heard or seen anybody actually using them. There's a good chance you would have access to it if you need it. But the accessible room does have a toilet. I can't remember if there's a shower, but there is a toilet in the accessible room. There's space for the wheelchair, assuming that it is a wheelchair that you're using. And it still has the bed with the bunk for a companion. It is very wide. It does give you room to maneuver. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's super comfortable like a luxury hotel, but can compared to the other rooms, it is much larger, and it's designed to be accessible. And there's a reason that it's limited. I believe there's also only 1 or 2 family bedrooms per car on the other end of the car. And when I say car, I mean the train car, that they attach multiple cars to make the train. So you have the bedroom cars, which have a string of roomettes at the top floor and a string of roomettes at the bottom floor, and on the other side of the hall, on the bottom floor, it's the bathrooms and shower and that kind of thing, and upstairs is the bedrooms, the regular bedrooms. So, as I was saying, if you do need space when it comes to using the bathroom, the bedroom may not be your best option, simply because, as you see in the video, the walls are very tight and very straight. If you need elbow room, like if you're fine on the hip, thigh, sitting, you can turn around in a small space to sit, that kind of thing, but you need a little bit of elbow room, you can, even if you're in a bedroom, you can actually go and use the public bathrooms. And if you do so, I would recommend going to the bottom floor, because there are 3 of them, which means that you're less likely to be taking up space that the roomettes on the other end of the upper floor need, because there is only 1, I believe, bathroom on the upper floor for all the roomettes. And I think there's only 6 or 8 roomettes per floor, but I didn't actually count them. But I did notice on this trip that there was frequently a wait for that one on the upper floor, whereas downstairs there was hardly ever anybody in them, and if there was, there were another 2 or 3 that you could access. If you need even more space than that, but you are actually mobile, the Cross Country Cafe, if I'm remembering this correctly, I was not able to go to the cafe. It was 8 cars ahead on both directions on this trip. But the Cross Country Cafe, it has a seating area. I mean, you have the food area where you buy the food, then it has a seating area where you can sit and eat. And on the far end of that, there is a bathroom, and it is the width of the train, width, not length, of the train, which will give you plenty of room to move about if you need to. There is only 1 of these, though, and if it would get clogged, because some people do not follow the rules, only toilet paper and your personal waste go into the toilet, and some people don't follow the rules. If a toilet gets clogged, it clogs it for the entire car. Same thing with the bedrooms, same thing with coach. The main difference is that you're taking a smaller risk in the bedrooms because there are fewer people per car. In coach, there's a lot more people per car, so even if there's more bathrooms, it doesn't matter because only 1 has to get clogged to shut down the system in the entire car. So the bedrooms are a little bit of a safer bet, but there's still not a lot of space, very little space to maneuver. Also with the showers, the bedroom shower is actually smaller. I don't know if the walls are smaller, but because of the toilet being in there, it is actually smaller than the more public one that is downstairs in your car. So again, you may not find a bedroom to be in your best interest. We tend to go by price because primarily we're using it for sleeping and privacy, and on this trip in particular for social distancing. But the public shower is a little bit roomier than the one in your bedroom. If you have a bedroom, I would recommend not going down and using that shower because I believe there is only 1 per car, and that's a lot of other people that may need in there, and you do have another option. But like I said, for the bathroom, you may want to do that just because of elbow space. Food on the Autotrain currently. I don't know about coach. We did not take coach. We actually haven't yet. We talked about it until the panini hit. But there is no social distancing, so instead of having everybody crowded into the dining room, And they've always offered in-room dining, okay, but that was a separate deal where you would have your attendant bring you your food because you wanted to have it in your room. It was more of a luxury choice. Or if you have mobility issues, it was more of a functional choice when it came to that. But right now, and I can't say anything for even tomorrow. I mean, things change rapidly and they don't always announce it. They didn't tell us about this either. But currently, they are actually bringing you your meals in to-go bags. So it's just a big shopping bag and it has your meal with the clamshell, and I'll try and put a picture in here. But it has your drinks, your meal, your dessert. It's all in the to-go bag. And then when you're done, it depends on the attendant and the rules at the time. We had one way the way down, one way on the way back. Either the attendant will come and take your to-go bag with the trash in it out, or they will have a trash bag at the end of the hall that you can then take your bag to. Now, if you have mobility issues and you can't do that, and the attendant is having you take the trash out, you can still use the call bell and have the attendant do that. If they're doing extra work for you, I do recommend increasing the tip a bit. On tipping, it does vary. I've heard different things online. We usually end up tipping $20 per leg. So it's the same attendant the whole time. They get very little sleep. They're always on call. And I don't know what their compensation is like, but I did notice on previous trips that tipping it did seem to be expected, although an amount did not seem to register. I tried to find something. Most people say $5 per person per night. We usually do 20, just to be on the safe side. We don't want to under tip, but also because they really do have a hard job. And then on this trip, we noticed that apparently not many people were tipping. Most trips, I saw a lot of, like when you get off the train and you're just like, hey, bud, thanks, or when they get on the train, some people like to tip. They feel that it ensures better service. We've never had a problem with poor service from the attendants. They were fantastic on every trip. All of them are different and they all have different methods of working, but we've loved every single one that we've had. We've only been on 3 round trips. I mean, that's like 6 people, but they've all been wonderful. I did notice tipping on previous trips. I did see other people tipping regularly, and when it comes to dinner service, you were expected to leave a tip as you would in a restaurant, even though there is no price on it because it is included in your room charge. I'm not sure how it works for coach. And then in the morning, they have to-go breakfast, and that was different too on each leg. On the way down, they did have hot sandwiches like sausage and egg sandwich, and I think an omelet sandwich. They had crumb cake, banana, orange juice, milk, and cereal. And you could choose hot, cold, or hot and cold breakfast, but they would throw it in a bag just like with dinner, and you could take it out to the lounge or back to your room. Now, since the attendant is usually preparing the room for the next group of guests while you're at breakfast, it's probably better to either eat in the lounge or sit in the viewing car if there is one, to give them a little bit of time to get your room ready, just so that you're not in the way and they can do their job and get out and move on to the next one. The trip coming back, it was cold only. There was no hot sandwich. It was just the cereal, which if you're lactose intolerant means that you're going hungry. But they did have the crumb cake and the banana, and they do have coffee in the lounge. Anyway, so it was different going down than it was coming back, and we had no way of knowing what was what until we were on the train. The cafe, we didn't do it on this trip. Like I said, it was like eight or nine cars down, and it wasn't worth it since they were bringing our meals to our room. But they usually carry things like microwavable burgers and hot dogs and a lot of other snacky things. They used to have a cheese tray, might even be a whole charcuterie tray. I'm not sure. Wine. I think they had wine. I do know that the lounge serves alcohol during the day, not in the morning. Sorry, guys. But at the cafe, they have these other snacky things that you can get if you don't like your meal, if you don't want to wait for your meal, or you had your meal at 5 but you're up kind of late and you want something else. It's actually not bad. We didn't, like I said, we didn't do it on this trip, but the microwavable burger and hot dog you would think would not be good at all, but they were actually quite, I mean, not a 5-star restaurant, okay, but it was actually pretty decent. If you get hungry, it might be worthwhile. Let's see. Previous trips, the coffee was actually very good. On this past trip, it was very not. So it may just depend on who's making it. They do have extra water. Previous trips, it would just be terrible, terrible tap water in bottles. On this trip, they used Niagara, which I can't remember. I think it's filtered water. We actually buy it up here sometimes when it hits the stores. It's not our favorite brand, but it's way better than the terrible tap water bottles. And if you brush your teeth in the sink, you will know what I mean, because it tasted exactly like the sink water, which is, you might want to use the bottled water to brush your teeth, I'm just saying. So they do provide you with soap, they provide you with washcloths and things like that, and blankets. Our previous trips, the blankets were rather thin. On this trip, they were rather thick, but they were narrow. You can adjust the temperature and the airflow in your room, but beware, almost every room has something wrong with it. And on our trip home, our room, we couldn't turn off the vent or lessen the airflow. That was the broken part, that and possibly the chair. On the trip down, we had room B, and I think that was car 45 on train 53. The sink is just really aggressive. You can barely tap it and it would spray down into the bowl and splash your face. It was very aggressive water. I don't think anything else was wrong with it. Well, the table was a little bit not straight. So you had to kind of prop it up with your knee if you didn't want anything to slide off of it. But it for the most part, it was fine. It was coming home that, you know, we were freezing because we couldn't properly adjust the airflow. Just be aware that could be an issue. The pillows I thought were very soft, but they are thin. And if you're used to fluffy pillows, you may want to bring one from home. They do sell neck roll pillows in the gift shop, I believe at both stations. And actually, that's another thing. If you don't think you're going to like your meal, which, by the way, the meals are usually pretty good. The meat does tend to be a little bit tougher, but the flavor's usually fine. But if you think you're not going to like your meal and you don't trust waiting for the cafe car, they usually have sandwiches and yogurts and other snacky things in the gift shop before you board the train, and you can obviously buy them there. They also have like ramen with a microwave, so like if you arrive at the station really early, you can actually eat in the station. In the gift shop, they even have tables and chairs. And then at Sanford, at least, they had like benches with tables. I know they had them out front, and I think they might have had them in the back where you load on the trains. I think at Lorton they did too, but don't hold me to that. I don't think I took pictures of that. Anyway, so you can get food from the gift shop and bring that onto the train with you. The stairs are very narrow, but if you have a bedroom, you actually have a decent amount of space for storing carry-on luggage. So whatever you feel comfortable carrying up and down stairs is probably going to fit in your room. It may limit your space to move around, but there's a shelf that you'll see in the video that you can put a carry-on up, and underneath that captain's seat you could probably put another one, and then there's a little bit of space if you don't mind moving things around, or if you have something very low, you can slide that under the bench that becomes the bed. but you won't be able to access it easily once it becomes a bed if it continues to fit under the bed, which it does lower when it becomes a bed. If you have mobility issues or just don't want to, technically, the attendant can bring your luggage up to your room, and in the morning you can call the attendant to bring your luggage down to where you deboard, and I think they put them on a luggage cart for you. I would recommend tipping a little bit extra for that. It is not just manual labor, but it can be very difficult manual labor depending on your luggage situation. So if you need to charge things like your phone or a shaver or whatever, there is one plug next to where you sit, the bench that becomes a bed. There are 2 plugs next to the sink. Just be aware, even though they are the kind that's meant to be near a sink, I would still be very careful about what you plug in there if it's going to be overnight because of water splashing. So I hope that covers everything. If you have more questions, feel free to ask them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer. I don't have all the answers, but I have been on 3 round trips. So I have a little bit of experience and I'll be happy to give you what information I do have.